Welcome back to the CSGB F1 League. Now here for the second round of the first season, the quali and feature race here at Australia. And once again, I have the pleasure of being joined by Dane.
Hello once again, here for round 2, here for short qualifying this time, to see which drivers can put their car onto the front row of the grid. It will be very interesting to see who has the pace at tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last week we saw Kazakhs, who has managed to join us in time. He was on pole. He bottled it in the race, however, crashing in Bahrain. Couldn't make it for the sprint race, but is back for us now. So it'll be interesting to see how what he can do. Netsky's now leading the championship, so clearly continuing form. And we have a wet qualifying. Okay, then that does spice things up a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll actually see some drivers. Maybe they'll come out and do multiple laps on the intermediate compound instead of just the one sprint on the dry tyres.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just inters, so not completely wet, but still very challenging.
We have difficult corners in the dry. Put in the wet. We have corners like turn 11 and 12. It'll be interesting to see how these drivers can tackle that, whether they'll take the second part of it, turn 12 flat out without going too wide and putting their car into the barrier.
Yeah. I think who's come out first? Alfa Romeo. Sly Guy. Last week's feature race winner. You know, the best race I did actually see. The reason he pitted early, he did get front wing damage from Festa. So there was an incident at turn 1. That's why he finished far down. He had to replace his front wing.
Hopefully you can have a bit of a redemption here for round 2.
Yeah.
He did lose a bit of the traction for turn 3 on his outlap, so hopefully he can fix that up and not do that on his actual main run.
Yeah, I'd guess most drivers this lap will just be trying to find the limit, I'd guess. Seeing how early they can get the throttle down to full. You can see, usually I think turn 10 is flat here, isn't it? Pretty much as soon as you're past the apex you can just push down the throttle. I did see the telemetry from Sly Guy, and he was quite a bit down the straight before he went full throttle.
Yeah, I think the long right hand of turn 7 and Lakeside turn 10, they'll definitely be easy flats, but it's going to be the corners which we see where which drivers got the most skill to put their car in P1.
Oh, apparently we have a wet race as well. Just seen in the chat.
Interesting.
So that could be very interesting. See Sly Guy, I'm actually right on board when it comes down to turn 1. Very cautious there. Easy to light up the rears on the exit there in the dry. And now down into turn 3. Nice apex there, uses all of the track. Once again through turn 4 as well. Oh, loses it a little bit there. Struggled a little bit through 4, not flat through 5 anymore. 30.3 in the first sector, don't know if that's any good. Comes now through 7 and 8 into 9. And hooks up the apex nicely. And Forsen's retired.
Yeah, enough the traction to be louder. Turn 7.
Sly Guy's invalidated his lap, just cut the curve at turn 12. Who's next on that lap? Is that Jimmy? Yes it is. Keeps his lap valid there. Playing it a little bit more cautiously than the Alfa Romeo did. Comes into the final couple of corners now. So it's very slow left-hander. And then to try and find where you can put the power down. Yellow flags. And that's just Slayer getting out of the way. Jimbo across the line then, a 1:33.3 is the benchmark. I think now Racing Points coming up behind him. That's for an out lap, okay. That's we've got Tribe then coming up around the final corner. Timmy goes fastest, Kazakh's into P3 and beaten by his teammate. And Netsky's just gone 1.2 seconds faster than anyone else.
A very good time from him indeed. But he's got his wet stuff ready, and maybe if it's a wet race, he's gonna absolutely dominate.
Yeah. So the thing is, he's actually spun. One of the Red Bulls have gone round. Kazakh's there, really struggling. Still gets out of the way nicely, following cars. Might be important here. Actually, it won't be as important here, will it, in the wet, because drivers will get multiple laps out. But avoiding traffic, pretty much.
This is a street circuit, so
Yeah.
So the track would be a lot closer together, the walls. It was Liam putting his car to P5 down to P6 as Rainman takes P5 off him. Everyone in the 33 so far.
Apart from Netsky, 31.9.
I'm not sure if anyone will be able to beat that. That's a ridiculously good time from him.
Yeah. Drivers that we may see it from, I would assume maybe James. Obviously dominating in Bahrain. Clearly has good pace, but can he do it in the dry as Trainman goes second? But still 9 tenths off what is currently provisional pole. And Netsky's gone even quicker. To once again get that 1.2 seconds. Can anyone beat the AlphaTauri driver? Festa's gone P4 as well, beating his teammate. Hasn't had the best of luck in the Haas, but clearly has better wet pace than dry.
A 4.5 for Haas at the moment right now is we have Ekelund losing a lot of the traction through turn 12 on the exit, and he seems to have backed off from his lap, but he'll start again onto the grass. I think that'll be him going into the pit lane. Yeah, it is.
Sven goes up into 9th. May try a second push lap here. So I know this is a rule in the dry, but is it the same with wet quality to wet race? Does park may still apply?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in to start, they'll have to start on these tyres then, won't they? So
yeah,
that may be a point of it.
Unless it could be a full wet race, which is definitely a fun watch. But if it was intermediates into the race, they'd have to start on these compounds.
Yeah, anyone on a lap now? I think Vapor is. I think James and Sly Guy are. Oh, James has validated his, so we'll watch the Alfa Romeo. Just comes through the first sector. Does that Mercedes ran out of fuel in the middle sector?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, it's going very slowly.
Hopefully he doesn't hold up Rowan Missy whilst he's on his hot lap. Oh, it's invalidated anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Guessing that is Jimbo or Sven then behind him?
It's Jimbo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jimbo's gone up to P2. When did that happen? And Sven's gone 3rd. Very good showing from the McLaren duo. However, Silly Sly Guy purple sector 2. Currently sitting 17th without a lap on the board. See Liam getting right out of the way there.
Sly Guy going for turn 15, takes it down into 4th here to get the extra rotation. This is 15th, holds it in 2nd. Takes a very nice line, gun to the power as early as possible.
And he full throttle, takes him a while, but he's there. Comes up to the line.
P2.
Oh, a 10th off, so close. Purple sector 2 and 3. He's just missed out a little bit in the first sector. He looks to be going again.
Can take ball from Netsky.
Yeah. And again, James, I think, also might have the pace. Just watch him now as he comes through the final sector. Let's try be a split the Haas cars at some point. And then Fester improves to 6th. James is actually a little bit quicker to full throttle through that final corner. And goes P3. Not quite as quick as the front two, but still definitely right up there.
I believe I saw Sly Guy go purple through sector 1, so he'll go his through Lakeside Drive. He is very low on fuel at the moment, so I wonder if this will be a in-lap for him. It doesn't look like it. He goes purple again, but he's
invalidated it.
Purple through sector 1 and 2, that could have been a really good lap from him.
Netsky's come out for an outlap. Currently just over a 10th clear of what seems to be his closest rival here in wet conditions anyway. They finished 1-2, but the other way around for the feature race last week.
There's a rivalry forming between the two drivers. He's had Ekelund, who did make a mistake through turn 2, losing the traction it seems, and was facing the other way, but didn't hold on anyone up fortunately. Looks like he'll be into the pit lane, maybe to get some fresh tyres.
Yeah. It might help a little bit, just overheating them. Hold the heat in them. But also, if he's facing the wrong way, he's not going to be improving this lap. And Netsky is half a 10th up in the first sector. Loses it on through 7 though. It's clearly pushing very hard. Into the chicane now. Can he keep it on the track? Using all of the curb possible when does keep it valid. They're on towards 13. Opts to use 3rd gear. And then 5th through 14. A little bit deep there at what was almost the hairpin. And then through the final corner. Don't think this lap is as good. And oh, scrap that, he's gone fastest. 3 tenths up.
Now the 4-tenth gap between him and Sly Guy. Sly Guy will have to catch up.
Yeah, he might have been watching that lap as well. He's in the pits. May as well have watched his rival. Yeah. As the Ferrari gets back, seemed to run out of fuel. His teammate has retired.
Yeah, first they're coming through the final sector, but into the heavy braking zone of turn 15. Takes it very nicely early onto the throttle through the final corner. Let's see where this lap will put him. And it puts him P5. Started lap from him, puts him into the top 5. Puts both McLarens down to P6 and P7, but they're still the highest constructor at the moment, so I think they'll still be pleased with it so far, but they surely would want to get higher.
Yeah, I think Timmy's come out for an outlap. I think he made a mistake somewhere, because he's on his, well, the screen says he's on a flying lap, but his ERS is on 0 in terms of the mode setting. Liam's invalidated his lap, so we'll not be seeing an improvement.
Hindle sets a fastest sector 2, so on board with him. He seems to be having a really good lap so far, down in P13. Turn 13. Takes a very nice line, and down to 5th gear, down to 4th gear through turn 14. Late on the brakes, losing a tiny bit of the rear as he goes through entry, but he's just taking it nicely. Takes a tighter line through the final corner that compromises his exit. I'm not sure if this will put him P1, but you can put him up the field, can it? Yes, into the top 10.
Found half a second on that lap. That is very tight there, isn't it?
Extremely close.
1.9 off for, I think, 4 drivers. Very tight in that midfield. Sly Guy has come back out for a second run. Needs 3.5 tenths if he wants to beat Netsky.
We are in the business end of this short qualifying session around Albert Park. Well, I'm bored with Liam, but I don't think he's going to be improving on his time. Was 3 tenths down in the middle sector. A lot of drivers in the midfield right now currently on a lap. The highest is Sven right now going through turn 3 Sports Center. Takes a nice line. Getting to the throttle as early as possible through turn 4. Lifts off through turn 5. Goes a bit wide but keeps it validated. How will this sector put him? He's 1/10 up, nearly 2. It's turn 5 nicely, flat out through the long right hander. He goes onto the run through turn 8 and 9 with quick right left chicane. Onto 3rd gear, short shifting into 4th, takes it very nicely. And through Lakeside Drive, takes it flat out, hugging the inside, taking a bit middle of the track as he lines up through a very quick turn 11-12, 3 tenths up on his time now. Takes it very nicely, nice jumping to keep it validated. Goes into turn 13, down to 3rd gear. Very nice line through there. Then to turn 14. Doesn't go up into 5th gear, keeps it in 4th gear, which is interesting from him. Turn 15. And then into the final corner, short shifting into 4th gear to get maximum traction on exit. It did look like a very decent lap. He's out of VRS, but this lap put him into P5. Good lap from him.
Yeah, almost 4 tenths up there after that lap. Silly Slugger hasn't validated his in the first sector, so it may see an improvement there. 4 seconds down for Timmy, so nothing from his lap. He did move up into P3. Has beaten Train Man, he crosses the line now and retakes that top of the 2nd row position. Jimbo starts his lap. Watch the McLarens go around, then exiting turn 2, very tentative on the throttle. Easy to light up the rears, now come down the straight, hard on the brakes into turn 3. Possibly a little bit wide at the apex, but still kept it clean. But good drive there, out of 4 into 5. So we've had an Alfa Romeo retire, that looks to be standard at the end of the session. He's in the pits. Jimbo then coming down towards turn 9. This lap has looked clean so far. Once again hooks up the apex. And continues to get a good drive down the back straight. Now into this high speed chicane 11 and 12. Can he keep it valid? He does, and keeps the car planted at the rear. Final sector of the lap now, so where it gets a little bit tricky. Look good through 13. Back down into 4th gear for the next one. Now into this possibly the slowest corner on the track. Gets it hooked up nicely. And then blast down the pit straight. Lap looked clean, but was it a fast one? Crosses the line, goes to P5. Found almost half a second there.
Because between 2nd and 6th. We have Sly Guy 5 tenths up, purple 2nd sector. He's absolutely flying right now. We can have a very clean final sector, and now be pole position for him, going through turn 13. Very nicely done.
Oh, loses it.
Traction on exit. Through turn 14. How can he navigate this? He seems to take it a lot better than he did the previous corner. Through turn 15. Taking a very nice exit out wide into the final corner, hook the apex, and onto the back straight. Will he be able to take pole position from Nextski? No, he
No!
won't. 1/10 off.
Loses it by 300ths of a second. That was that mistake at 13. Swerve a lap got away from him. Just a little bit squirmy on the power. Right, 2 cars still out by the looks of things. Rain Man who comes up to the line now. And goes 9th. Good lap there. And then Liam just behind him. I think he stayed in 15th there. Yeah, good qualifying session. Only one driver seemed to have crashed out.
Extremely close.
As we see our grid here, Netsky has taken pole position, but as very close behind him is Silly Sly Guy and the Alfa Romeo. James there continuing his form from Bahrain, puts his car P3 ahead of Trainman in the Ferrari. Going down the rest of the top 10, then we have Timmy ahead of Jimbo, Sven, Shea after his mistake in Bahrain, Rainman and then Festa. Behind him we have Eklund, Romsey, Liam, Tribe, Hindle and Kazak's the final driver to set a lap time. Only driver to not, I believe, was Formula Forzen after his mistake early on in the session. Right then, who's your prediction for the win?
It's going to be extremely close between the front two. This looks like
that is blue tyre, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I really think it is. It's going to be a very good race. Maybe the one-stop strategy. But back to your question, I think it's going to be Netsky to take the win, and yeah, I think he'll just pull away from the second place man of Sly Guy. But I do think he'll take P2 and James to take P3.
Yeah, to be honest, unless something happens in the first lap, I don't see much changing from that. Have seen Sly Guy has said in the chat that he made a mistake and nearly ran out of fuel, but he is confident. So it's going to be close at the front. I reckon those front two may just pull away.
Yeah, the battle for third is going to be really good as well between the top 7. I believe they're all within like 2/10 of each other. It'll be very good between them guys.
Yeah, it is the blue walled full wet tyre that we have. Don't know if the rain's going to last. Could see this all the way to the end. If the rain does last, it'll be probably quite an easy one stop. Stopping around 15.
Yeah. I've not seen one league race where it's completely stayed heavy rain conditions, so might see intermediate tyres come later on into the race.
I had a race in Austria over the weekend, heavy wet the whole time. You can't see a thing if you follow another driver. So it's going to be very important for whoever is in first. So Netsky will be looking to hold that position. Drivers behind him, their visibility will be very much obscured.
Indeed it will. Hopefully it doesn't cause any big accidents.
Yeah.
Last thing we'd want to see people out of the race because the people behind them couldn't see where they were going. We love the red lights on the back of these Formula 1 cars to make the cars look more visible to the drivers behind them.
You see the strategy, the game thinks 1 or 2 stops. I don't see any 2 stops happening if this weather stays as it is. I reckon that'll be an easy 1 stop. Another thing though, if the rain does decide to leave us, when will the drivers come in? Getting that timing right for the inters and then maybe slicks, it's going to be very important.
You'll have to get the timing perfectly. I don't think in these conditions we'll be seeing any dry weather anytime soon, but inters definitely could be possible later down the race as the rain gets lighter. Juggling my words there a little.
Yeah, the drivers get back onto the grid. Poleman Netsky has just parked up. So we're down to the back. I think Forzen's just sliding into his grid stop now, so we will wait for the lights. And here we go. Don't know about you, I'm not seeing any lights. Oh, here we go. A little bit of a delay. 5 lights on in Melbourne. And we go green in Australia. Looks like a good start from both on the front row. So one of the McLarens trying to line up, but James is coming straight through the middle of the pair of them. I think he's taken the lead as well. What a start from James. Netsky drops down to 4th. Apparently Jimbo's up in the lead. So we'll just wait for the screen to sort itself out with that. But James has in fact taken the lead. And Kazak's been disqualified. He didn't get off the grid.
I wonder if he was AFK. He might have not been there. There's carbon fibre going off all over in the midfield. I think that was the Mercedes of Liam. Might have wing damage.
He does pick up a 3-second time penalty, so he's already cut 3 corners. Probably just avoiding incidents, so not his fault. But yeah, James, what a start from 3rd on the grid. Jumps both Kuznetsky, actually dropped 2 positions.
Yeah, it's a really poor start from Netsky, but that start from James was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a start like that before in this game.
Especially not in the wet. Clearly the front 2 just struggling with traction.
Probably James warming up his tyres the most.
Yeah.
Further down the grid, it is looking pretty tame at the moment. Oh, as we have Forsen going down
Is that another great start for Forsen? Looks like it is. 17th to 13th already.
The recovery drive himself. Can he gain any more positions as we go deep into this race?
Looks like Jimbo held on to a top 5 position. So a good start from the McLaren. Timmy 6th and Sven in 7th. So like not much change then. Obviously James got that phenomenal start. Was ahead by turn 1. And then obviously Forsen's jumped up as well. Apart from that, as Eklund pits.
I believe that's for wing damage. He might have made contacts at the start of the race. There was yellow flags. Well, he may have been caught up in some. Battle for P9 right now. We have Vesta. Yeah, really close to Shea through turn 1, almost hit him. Did compromise his exit through turn 2 and then the straight. And was already behind a second, and maybe will he be under pressure from Romsey? Let's see.
Can see Fester is running very light fuel. That yellow fuel icon already on for the Hash driver.
Under fueling in the heavy rain, definitely made the car as light as possible so you can get through the corners as quickly as possible.
Yep.
We'll
also James in the lead. Yellow fuel as well for him. And Sly Guy in 2nd. Front 2.
He's really losing a lot of time to the front 2 at the moment, falling down, but he still pulled a 2nd to train, man, so he still has the pace, but the front 2 just look to be at a different level at the moment.
Yeah, and that's going to be wishing these 2 can start fighting so we can get back into it. In the dry you lose enough time going side by side, but if you go side by side in the wet, especially at this track, where overtaking can be difficult, it's so tight and twisty.
And speaking of side by side, we have Forsan making another move down the inside of Romsey through turn 13 up into P11. He's really good at the start of this race, flying at the moment into P, gaining 6 positions into P11, hounding down the points position at the moment.
He's got quite a bit of time to make up as well to the top 10. Just fighting there, he's lost 2 seconds to what looks like pretty much a train from first all the way down. I mean, there's a couple bigger gaps in there. Shay's nice and close to Rainman. We'll probably try a move at some point if he can just close that just a couple more tenths.
Oh, Sly Guy losing the traction, oh! Nearly hit into the side of Netsky. Netsky up into P2 from a mistake from Sly Guy, but they're still side by side. Sly Guy really, he holds it. That's really good defending. Good recovery from him after that mistake earlier on at turn 7. But Netsky using his overtake, will he try and make a move down the inside for turn 11-12?
It's a pretty bold one if he tried it, wouldn't it?
Indeed it will, but gotta make every move count.
I don't see exactly what happened then, but I saw the gap drop from like half a second down to like a tenth. And then suddenly Netsky was passed. But yeah, Sly Guy just holding it into 9 as we have a Mercedes spun at the chicane. That is Liam. Guessing he would have hit the wall then as he's just parked in the middle of the track.
Yeah,
No,
probably went too wide.
yeah, front wing is fine on the Mercedes. Just looping it around. Nevsky seems to have found a bit of pace here. Not quite letting Sly Guy get away this time.
That mistake from Sly Guy really cost him and Nevsky at the moment, as James has now pulled away from a second. James will be hoping to capitalise on this and use everything he has in the engine to pull as big as a gap as he possibly can.
Yeah. I think not many drivers willing to follow, or maybe it's just difficult, especially here at Albert Park. Just pretty much over 1 second gap for most of them. There's a couple that would have DRS if it was dry. But visibility clearly an issue here.
The closest battle at the moment is between the second and third place drivers of Sly Guy and Nevsky. The gaps are now beginning to form as we get further into this race.
They are right pulling in James a little bit though, aren't they? Gained 3 tenths or 4 tenths there just over this lap so far. Sly Guy seems to have found the composure after that slight mistake earlier on.
I wonder how Sly Guy will play this though, because he does seem to have superior pace to James at the moment. I wonder if he'll try to be as aggressive as possible to take the lead or stick behind James at the moment. I think he did set the fastest lap, yeah he does.
Yep. Just hear it on the engine, he's struggling so much, as it would be with all drivers at this point. Just getting the power down.
Yeah, especially for the one that use a dry setup or a time trial setup.
It depends how much these guys practice in the wet as well. Quite a few drivers in league racing especially don't really practice in the wet, they just hope it's going to be dry. But you can usually tell the ones that have practice. Otherwise he loses it a little bit again through 8. So using overtake all the way down this back straight just to try and hold that lead he has over Nevsky.
White is definitely going to be a warning for Sly Guy.
Forzen has also caught Vesta. That 2 second gap, now only 8 tenths.
On a mission looking for that driver of the day spot.
Yeah.
See how far this pace can take him.
James comes across the line in to start lap 6 of 29. Looking decent, he's just holding on to a bit of a gap that he has over Sly Guy. Nevsky has seemed to have found a bit of pace, just clearly a bit more confident than he was on the opening couple of laps. I reckon Forzen's going to try a move in a bit.
Yeah, it does seem to have the pace, and I think the rain is getting a bit lighter here, so maybe we could be seeing some intermediate tyres from the pit window. Vapor and Rayman getting very close to each other. Vapor looking to make a move up into P8. Holding his overtake mid-corner, not the wisest thing to do because he will lose the car.
And Shea used it on the exit.
Lost lots of time to Rainman.
Front three have absolutely bolted here, haven't they? 5 seconds then back to Trainman in that Ferrari. Clearly in a class of their own for the podium.
Gap really has closed down to 3 tenths. Looks like will be able to catch up enough to be able to make a move into turn 3 off the next lap.
Still having Mercedes in the pit lane. And he's retired, okay. Thought I was going to be the first into tyre then, but clearly had enough. hasn't had the best of races, nearly got lapped as well, so I don't blame them for calling it quit, especially in these very tricky conditions.
Rayman going extremely defensive against Vapor, hugging that inside line.
Forzen definitely looks like he wants to overtake here. Right behind Vesta. Again, doesn't quite seem to be in the traction after turn 2, but has a look to the inside, backs out of it. I think side by side behind them, Tribe and Hindle for 13th. They go side by side through turn 5. Hindle gets pushed out onto the grass, so we'll lose out to that position. But this battle for the lead is going to get exciting at some point, isn't it? Still over 20 laps to go, and 8 tenths separates the three of them.
Tell you what though, James is really prepared for defense right now. He has so much more ERS, he's barely been using it at all.
That might explain how they've caught him as well. He might have seen earlier on Sly Guy was catching him, so he's just saving his battery.
He's quite smart from him, he'll be able to defend himself on the 2 straights. But it is quite easy to recharge ERS here, so I doubt Sly Guy will be that much further down on the ERS for that much longer. I think throughout the long term.
Timmy's really close to Jimbo down the pit straight, then can't quite make a move. And a couple cars are in the pits. Is it time for intermediates? Doubt they'll go for a set of new wets this early. And it is inters. Forzen and Rainman are the first 2 to blink.
They're gonna have to stop again. They won't be able to take those intermediates to the end of the race. I think it might be worth it to just hold out the wet tyres till you get to the pit window and be able to take inters to the end for a one-stop strategy.
Yeah.
I have to go off the racing line a couple of times just to keep them wet cool. Make sure they don't overheat though.
And it depends how quickly we get a dry track.
My experience is this game so far, the weather does change extremely quickly, so
Yep.
I believe we are at the crossover period right now.
And Forzan has robbed us of quite a nice battle there. Decided to pit. Not quite close enough to Rainman just yet to make a move. I think the front three have stayed out, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Anyone pitting here? Yes. Jimbo and Timmy both into the pits. Trainman also pits.
Sven opting for the double stack. Sod.
I think
so much time.
Yeah, I think they did this last week as well. Depends. I don't think he would have lost that much time, would he? Doing one extra lap. The track isn't changing too quickly.
Yeah, it would have definitely saved time.
Romsey also in, Tribe and Hindle in. 5-second time penalty for Hindle. Eckelin's back in for his second stop, I think that is, after damage on the first lap. So the top 4 have stayed out.
I wonder if they're gonna pit this lap or not for the 2-stop. Or if they'll just hold these tyres out. I think they might as well go for the 2-stop since they won't be in any trouble from the cars behind them.
Yep, and they're gonna start losing time at some point as well. There will be a point where those inters will be quicker than these wet tyres. Especially fresh inters as it is for all of them.
Looking at the rain right now, it probably is quicker at the moment. It's definitely light rain conditions.
Yeah. Will any of them try and overcut? Yes, Netsi goes for it. So last year's champion.
Sorry, go on.
I think Festa's a little bit further back, but may come in as well. And does so. This lap is so crucial for Netsky. He can't allow any mistakes. He did seem a little bit quicker than Sly Guy towards the end of the wet period.
Got a very wide free turn 3 though, that's going to lose him a lot of time. Got to use everything he has, all of his alpha too.
He's got 21 seconds back to James. This lap is so important. If he makes any sort of mistake, Forsen sets the fastest lap. Up into P7, that strategy has worked a miracle for the Ferrari driver. Gained 4 positions by pitting a lap earlier than everyone else. So Netsky gets a penalty, yep. Clearly pushing very hard. Seems to be holding that gap though to the guys behind him.
I think the pit lane time is 20 seconds, 21 seconds, so I think he will be safe. All depending on this final sector, however.
Yeah. Through the final couple of corners, he will be coming into the pits, no doubt. He does so as well. Locks up a little bit. I'll get away with that. Slows the car down nicely. So we're going to watch this. Currently James now in P2 coming through the final couple of corners. This is going to be very tight between the pair of them. I think Netsky might have it. He's at the pit exit now. He's gone past. So it will be P3.
Yeah, he's got a lot of time there.
Yeah.
But we'll have the advantage of the fresh enters, so.
Yeah, I think that was worth for us taking. He didn't lose any positions.
Yeah.
It's worth a try, I reckon. He should catch up onto the back if the top two start fighting.
Further down, they could be able to cut off a P6 between Rainman and Forza, and it looks like Forza does have a superior pace to Rainman, but Rainman is just nailing those traction zones and is able to keep the gap for the straights.
Do you see a penalty for second place driver, Silly Sly Guy? Clearly those front three are pushing. I don't think I've seen a penalty for James yet. But second and third have a 3 second each, I believe. How long will it be until fours and pounces?
I think it's as soon as possible. I don't know at the moment because Rayman is just getting these traction zones really well, but
he goes for it to turn 13! And has done it.
Lunge, but he's
actually no. Rayman loses the back end a little bit and move didn't quite pay off.
High risk to zero reward, but he will have to slipstream for the straight as long as he can get the traction right.
Has a lot more battery as well to use.
To make sure he doesn't get too desperate, otherwise he will lose.
Oh, and he has as well. And Shay's got him. He's very defensive. Fozzum will probably take that back around the outside. Breaks a little bit later. Contact. And has the inside for 4. As Ekelin sets, I think that's 2 consecutive fastest laps of the race. Pushing very hard down in 14th.
Very unfortunate for Ekelin. It did look like he has a pace in the race, but didn't have the luck.
And what's going on, Netsky is caught right up to the back of the top 2. And in fact, he's going to try and make a move now into 13. He's been given the inside. And he will take that invitation. A little bit of contact there. I think Sligo just lost the back end through 13. Netsky's forced to back out of it. Both gelatin on the pit straight now as you start lap 13.29, just under halfway. You could definitely see Netsky try making a move now down into turn 3, but again the same as Forzen. Just gets a little too eager on the power coming out of 1.
Further down a bit, it looks like Festus caught up to Shea a little, but he did mess up turn 1, so it's going to compromise his run onto second DRS straight. Anything can happen. It looked like Netsky does have the. He looked like he did have the pace on the fresher intermediates, but this looks a bit loose on the traction zones.
Ekelund set the fastest lap once again last time around. It's growing in confidence every lap, finding even more pace. Quite a lonely race for Trainman and Jimbo, isn't it? Just running around in P4 and 5 respectively.
Doing well, they're getting good championship points for them.
Yeah.
I think Sly Guy has a superior pace to James at the moment in the intermediate tyres. He's got really close through Lakeside, but looks like James is a superior sector 3.
Yellow flags, Ekelund is spun at the back.
Pushed too hard.
Clearly trying to go for 4 consecutive fastest laps. Front wing is broken, so he will have to pit. Going back to the front then, Netsky once again looking faster. He's caught up after losing out time. I think that's now the 3rd time in this race. Just the back end looks a little bit loose on the important traction zones.
Do you think it's going to take the win out of these 3 drivers here?
It's going to be too close to call. I would say James is like the most consistent out of the trio, so I'd probably go for him at the moment. Still has considerably more ERS as well, and doesn't have a penalty, whereas the other 2 do.
Ekelund, yeah, he's given up tied in the pit lane. Sly Guy has a lot of ERS. I don't think he'll be able to attack on James. The only way he'll be able to get past is if James actually does make a huge mistake.
Yeah. James is definitely the most consistent. I believe he's the only one with no penalties. So we saw Netsky getting his when he tried to overcut the pair of them. And Sly Guy just after. I think they're going side by side now down the pit straight. Netsky finally getting a run on that Alfa Romeo. The inside for turn 1. Sly Guy will hold it around the outside. And he's done it. Must be definitely AlphaTauri, but still Sly Guy will come back at him into turn 3. Brakes later around the outside. Once again, a little bit of contact, but that is now Netsky's position. Good move there into turn 1.
Really good move to Netsky. Sly Guy just making another error for the final corner this time. And just lost the position completely. And I wonder if he'll be able to keep up with Netsky and James, because he does have the least DRS out too. So, unless he has a lot of pace to give, it might be game over for him.
Yeah, still a season for a podium, however. Just under 8 seconds back to Trainman, just running his own race in P4. That battle has definitely taken some pressure off our race leader though. Gap now 1.5 seconds, so. I mean, that's if James even feels pressure. Looked very comfortable.
Yeah, Forzen going on the inside into turn 11. He needs to move stick. Very ballsy
what
from
a move!
Very ballsy from him. He really wanted that position. Up 11 positions into the top 6. Very, very good drive from him.
Yeah. And he's in behind Rainman for 10 laps now. So that may have been a bit of impatiency, but he's done it. He won't care too much. On to the next one.
He does have a large gap to gain onto Jimbo, but we'll definitely give it his all. See James setting another fastest lap of the race, so the gap has been closed down from 1.6 seconds to 1.2.
Shea might be looking to capitalise on Rain Man as well as they run down to turn 3. He's a little too far back. Shea also having no battery. Just before the braking zone. Fester as well will get involved with this battle.
I wonder what Shea's tyres are like, because whenever I just hear him go onto the throttle, his tyres are just reaching. That's full traction for you.
Yeah. Gap at the front is now under a second. Netsky showing he has more pace. Catching up to our race leader. And this is the first time we'll be able to see Netsky on James, isn't it? Before it's been Sly Guy.
Yeah. But I think James is still going to be able to keep his position because he still has a lot of more ERS left, and he does seem to have that consistency, as he was saying earlier, compared to Netsky.
Fastest lap of the race for Netsky, but then it's taken by Sly Guy. But the rain is still getting a bit lighter as well.
Yeah, probably it's perfect conditions for the intermediate tyres. Don't think he'll be becoming dry anytime soon.
I'm still watching this. Fester got past Shea. At some point, I guess that was into turn 13, looking where they are on the map now. And Sven's in the pits for a new set of intermediates. And that fast lap might have just scared James a little bit. Just seeing that both the guys behind him have more pace. But I reckon they used up quite a lot of their battery doing that. Whereas James is comfortable to just sit out and head. And then he'll defend when he needs to.
James has been forced to use a tiny bit of his ERS. I think he was on 89 or something like that. The previous lap now down to 70s, into the 70s. But he'll easily recharge that in the heavy braking zone of turn 15. But Netsky has definitely closed the gap and has saved his ERS whilst doing it as well, so it'll be a very close battle to the finish, and Sly Guy has caught up. So I take what I said back earlier, he may have the least ERS, but he's definitely been able to keep the pace of the front two.
Yeah, just a bit. If this does come down to a battery race, I don't think Sly Guy will have a chance. He's used a lot more of his battery to keep up, whereas Netsky and James have been able to just hold pretty much above 50 for the pair of them.
Rainman hits. To get an undercut as Timmy gives up as well, who is in P14.
And Timmy has retired.
These enters are definitely not going to make it to the end of the race. It'll be a matter of when the other guys will come to pit.
Now, Timmy has retired on the track there. I don't know if that's allowed. Don't know if he spun just before or...
And if he'll, of course, come out of safety car, because that is quite a dangerous location.
Right on the exit of turn 12, the AI has decided to stop. And his car's despawned. No safety car, we stay green. Forzen hasn't made much of an impact to the gap to Jimbo. Doesn't seem to be
all of the life of his intermediate tyres battling. Jimbo does come into the pits to get a new fresh pair of intermediate tyres.
The rain looks to be staying around, to be honest. I don't think we'll be seeing select tyres. Shea's also in, and Fester's in as well. So our front three will be stopping very soon. Sylvester picks himself up a penalty for speeding into the pits. Now, has Netsky saved enough of his tyres to try and overcut again?
I think he has, but I don't think he'll try risk the overcut again, judging by the amount of time he lost previously. But
no, the difference is this is the same tyre they're changing onto. Last time it was wets to inters, now it's inters to inters. Silly Sly Guy doesn't have the pace at the moment. Not over a second behind.
Unless he were to overcut, he'll generally put in the lap of his life.
Both drivers stay out. Alfa Romeo's in the pits. Very interesting there. Both of these just managing to keep their tyres alive a little bit longer. Fourth comes into the pits as well.
I think Sly Guy should use this chance to keep the ERS he has saved up. He'll definitely get the undercut, but I don't think he needs to use all of the others he has left.
Yep. Train man just continues in P4. Just left the pit lane. Romsey is up into P5 but is yet to pit. Will drop back down the order possibly at the end of this lap.
I think Nessie's going to come in this lap judging by the fact that he's used all of his ERS. Same with James, he's using a lot of his ERS as well.
Now under 50 for James, I think that's the first for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Williams are really pushing.
Is that Haas?
Yeah, that is Fester. And both of them come in. They get slowed down just about for the pair of them, I think. Can catch you out here because it's only a 38 mile an hour. Whereas usually it's 50.
Sly Guy is on the track right now, coming through the final corner. Will he be able to get the undercut on them?
I'll have more heat on his tyres. You can see them. He has gained time with purple in sector 3, clearly pushing. Might get a switch back on Netsky as well, running down to turn 3. Gonna try the outside, just gets a little bit sideways. He's got himself the inside for turn 3 and sends it up the inside. Once again, wheel banging between the pair of them. Netsky is not going to hold that, even have the outside for turn 5. Undercut there, working for Silly Sly Guy.
And better yet for him, he's now on the same ERS as Netsky, so he's not disadvantaged anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe he can close up to James before James's tyres can heat up.
Makes me think if Sly Guy had kept a little bit closer before his pit stop, he could have jumped the pair of them. But he just dropped, I think, 1.5 behind second before his stop. So tyres clearly had enough. So we have a fifth car of the race retiring. No safety car, which to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised about. I thought heading into this race on the full wets we would definitely have seen at least one safety car. But yeah, the drivers have stayed composed. No, I don't think Netsky's going to be very happy that he's back in third. Put all that work in on that last stint to get up into second and he's lost it.
wonder what his game plan is, whether it'll be to sit back and let slide guys attack James, or it'll be to catch up and be as aggressive as possible and maybe get them both. The number of the laps left in this race are limited, so he doesn't have much more time to get the move done if he wants to win this race. Especially with that penalty he has.
Yeah, Sligo was purple through sector 1 this time around.
Losing traction as well, allowing Netsky to catch up a bit.
Ekelund has joined us in the chat. Hello, mate. Shame about your retirement, just a couple of mistakes by the looks of things. Wish you all the best for the sprint race tomorrow. As Netsky gets a second time penalty.
I think that might be game over for him.
That's 6 seconds now for the AlphaTauri. I haven't seen one for James yet. So it is looking good for the leader. It's all at the start, wasn't it? Jumping both of them on the way to turn 1.
Brilliantly done. And has managed to control them since, keeping that gap in P1.
I think all the penalties coming in at the moment. Forsen picks up his. Tribe hasn't come in for a second stop, neither has Romsey. I think they're both going to try and get to the end here, as though Jimbo is closing down on the Alfa Romeo to take back his P5. Runs a little bit wide through 2 though.
If I was Romsey, I wouldn't really fight Jimbo, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure he paid on like lap 8, so I don't think battling will do his tyres any good. He'll be lucky if he can take them to the end.
Yeah, I think they will go. He'll be a little bit slower. Then Forsen is also right on the back of Tribe, so that move could definitely happen soon. We've seen how aggressive the Ferrari has been of overtaking. Even did it at turn 11, which you don't really see in the dry.
I think he's going to try it again into turn 11, where they can get a good run on him.
Seems to be lining up, doesn't he? As Netsky's gotten past Silly Sly Guy for P2. Look to happen into turn 13. Silly Sly Guy possibly left the door open again. However, he has. Yeah. Really around the outside. Oh, fair play. He does have to pull 3 seconds, however, if he wants to keep that P2.
Yeah, he needs to get past James potentially on this or the next lap and then just use everything he has left.
And Jimbo was retaken P5 into turn 1. Romsey just not fighting it there, stayed to the outside. And Forsen got past Drivey as well. It looks like we have a three-way battle going on for P9. Rainman, Sven and Shay. All fairly close at this point. A Sligo gets a penalty, yeah. Looks to be it for his race then.
There's level playing between him and Netsky. If he can catch back up, and so James is going to take the win here, is bearing in hopefully he doesn't make any mistake or pick up 2 more penalties.
Has James even got any warnings? I don't think I've seen him run wide when I've been watching.
Nah, it's only got 1 warning.
Okay, so he needs to exceed the track 5 times in 5 laps.
I don't think that'll be very possible for him at this moment.
Yeah.
Done a really good job tonight.
Of course, after the sprint race for Bahrain was delayed and we had that earlier, which he controlled. Now he's controlling it again here.
Yeah, he's taking a double whammy for tonight. All points, man. Really good night for him. He'll be chuffed with that.
Yeah. Looks like Netsky's third consecutive second place as well. 3 wins that may have just eluded him.
Well, in the Bahrain sprint race, he did have to stop in the back of the grid and climb his way through the field, but in this race, James just took complete control.
Yeah. And they say you can't win a race in the first corner. I think James did win that race at turn 1. Jumping both the cars on the front row, going in the middle as well.
I would love to see a POV of his start.
Yeah.
Netsky locking up the tyres quite a lot now. I think his tyres are going. Maybe he's been pushing too hard.
Fastest lap for third.
Like guy's still kicking, looking for that P2.
And has moved for the lead. Netsky gets up the inside of James. And he's given the place back. I think he'd realised that wasn't a fair move. Also gave the position to Silly Sligo, so he's going to lose out to P2 as well.
That was a very interesting choice.
Not sure what happened there. He just sent it up the inside and then decided that he didn't want it.
Yeah, he might have overshot.
Yeah, I know there was definitely contact between Netsky and James. I don't know why
I don't know. Unfair as well.
Don't know why he let the Alfa Romeo through as well though.
Clearly thrown away P2.
And Tryby finally came into the pits, dropped down to 11th place.
Yeah, Rumsey on the intermediate tyres, they must surely be dead by now.
But yeah, Forsen's got him as well. He's got 6 seconds to hold on though.
Rumsey
Might
makes a
still
slight
be.
mistake. In turn 11 and 12.
There's a change for the second place. Netsky's got back ahead of Sly Guy. Down into turn 1. Looked to have had the move done early, so maybe Silly Sly Guy's tyres are going as well. Just losing the back end. He'll have a look into turn 3, but thinks better of it. Looks comfortable for James then at this point, over a second lead. Which technically is 7 seconds if you could take penalties into account.
Yeah, I think he knows he won the race maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe he doesn't realise that Netsky and Sly don't have penalties.
I think if Sly Guy gets another one, he might come under threat for his podium. I don't know what Train Man's penalties are like. I think he has 1.
Yeah, I think he did pick up 1 earlier in the
Well,
race.
okay then. So Sly Guy will need to really bottle this then. Get 2 more penalties. Again, doesn't seem to quite have the pace of the 2 leaders, dropping back again.
It's like he's having these moments where he's just absolutely flying, but then using everything he has and just loses time once again in the next 2 laps. He might have timed it too early to try and push because on round up on a lap, lose the traction a little bit through turn 2, and that's gets game over for him. He's going to sell for P3.
There's a car off. Rumsey's gone off. Turn 13.
That'd be a flat tire, maybe. Yeah, it's a
puncture.
Very right. It looks like it.
Shame for him. Just 2 laps to go. No, but now we 1.5, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's over for him. I'm not sure if he's even going to get a point.
No, Tryby's right behind him. We'll take that 10th place.
So the one-stop strategy from the wet to the int is definitely not working out. Yeah, he gives up.
Retired. No hope of points unless Tryby and Hindle both massively bottled it. Yeah, it's worth a try. I don't think he was in the points before. I think he was sitting in like 11th.
Yeah, I think I was about right.
Yeah, it was worth a try then. Didn't quite work off in the end. And we'll end up 12th. I'm gonna say, Rainman has been very consistent on this stint. He's had Sven and Shay right behind him pretty much since I think they went on to Inters.
Yeah, he's done really well. Been really good on the traction zones, been able to nail those exits. Sven and Shay just wasn't able to match it.
Sven does have the most ERS out of that trio. Might try something as our leader is on the final lap of the race.
Rainman is near the minuses in the fuel though. And Sven looks fine, so Sven will definitely have the advantage into the final lap.
I think Sligo's going for another fastest lap here. He's saved up his battery once more. Might try something on the final lap to get that P2.
The back of his car looking really twitchy. Hopefully he doesn't spin completely ruin his day.
Yep. He's lost it as well coming out of turn 10. Just see him dart to the inside.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a fastest lap for him, but here's Netsky through turn
Well,
11 and 12.
Nevsky might know that he hasn't got this way to race win, but he might want it on track. Just to show that he did have the pace to do it. But I think that's the last overtaking position there, isn't it? A 13.
And if he can get a super run through turn 14 and maybe dive down to the inside.
Looked a little bit quicker, but it's not enough. So now unless James does something here, which we haven't seen all race, comes through the final corner to take 2 back-to-back wins here. We'll start at the back tomorrow, but that is 1, 2, 3 as they finish on track. Very good race from James. Won it at turn 1. Trainman takes a very lonely P4, has absolutely no one near him. And Forsen actually did catch Jimbo in the end. Wasn't quite close enough. They also finished as they were. And this battle for what was 9th is now for 7th. Very consistent from Rainman, all race. Are they going to finish as they were? Yes, they do. I think it was quite lonely for these last two as well. I think they've had a couple spins each, just not quite having the pace.
I did think Hindor did have to change his front wing in the first lap.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's quite an exciting race. Wet races, they never really fail to entertain, do they?
No, they don't. Really good pace from the front three, just pulled away from the field and drag each other for a long, cool 29 laps.
Now, the game gave driver of the day to Forsen. I would like to override that to James. I think his pace there, controlling it for 29 laps.
Yeah, he did really well there. Definitely deserved driver of the day, but I'm going to give my driver of the day to Forsen. Started at the back of the grid, gained 11 positions. And I finished in P7. Really good drive from him as well.
Good drive from a lot of them. Mostly Rainman had the consistency. Don't know where he qualified, so
P9 into P7.
No, okay, so gained a couple of positions then. Not too bad. So wait, is it going to give us classification? I've had a couple of times now where it just hasn't bothered.
I've done it. P1 was James, P2 Netsky, 3rd was Sly Guy, 4th was Trainman, 5th Jimbo, 6th Forzen, 7th Rainman, 8th Sven, 9th Shay, 10th Triby, Hindle in 11th, 12th of Romsey, 13th Fester, 1st of the DNFers, Timmy 14th, and the rest were DNFers who I couldn't see their names in time.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, that'll be it then for the CSGB F1 feature race here in Australia. The sprint race will be tomorrow, 7 PM, of course, for the UK. Thank you for joining me, Dane. It's been a pleasure.
Indeed it has.
Yeah, that'll be it then. Thank you very much for joining us, all that have, or those that are watching the race back who didn't catch it live. Thank you for joining. We'll hope to see you tomorrow for the sprint race. We'll see you then. Goodbye.